All right, Venom second trailer, more of the same, and that's not very good. Hey, what's up, Nerd fam? This is your boy Gashawn. I want to welcome you to Enter the Nerd. Today, we're going to talk about the second Venom trailer for Venom Let There Be Carnage. So, upon watching this trailer, there are a couple of things that immediately came to mind. First was not just me watching the first film, but even the first video that I made about the first trailer for this second movie. And the first thing that I thought was like, okay, so there's a lot more carnage in this. We see a lot of this VFX right now. I got a chance to, as a matter of fact, the morning that this trailer came out, I was speaking to my boy Taylor. Like, that was the first thing that really pissed him off about. And some people might consider this nitpicky, but I mean, he's a guy who kind of likes visual stuff. And he didn't like the way Carnage looked when he transformed. Not the thing coming out of his pores. That's actually really cool. But when we're talking about the way like his face kind of morphed and how it just changes, where we know it's not really how it looks, and it kind of speaks to the nature of the symbiote. So that might seem really small and nitpicky, and I get it. But it's actually a very small problem of the huge issue that comes to this movie. Whereas these characters are missing some of the fundamental pieces to what make them even possible. Now, watching this with this trailer, like, you see more of the funny stuff, more of the buddy cop thing. And if you watch, if you've read any of the comics, which I know a lot of you haven't, so I get, you know, you might not have this perspective because you've never actually read any of the comics. But as a person who knows these characters from the comics, this is strange because I know it's never been anything like that. Eddie Brock is not like that, and Venom isn't like that. And even parts of the personality that Venom has isn't possible without the meeting of Spider-Man because, going long story short, obviously Peter Parker he encountered the black suit during Secret Wars. It was changing parts about him. Didn't like it. It actually didn't even want to separate from him. He had to get Mr. Fantastic to help him take it off. All tons of cool stuff, right? But it did not. But Venom as a concept wasn't around yet. So once Todd McFarlane made that up, now it went on top of Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock hated Spider-Man. The suit was heartbroken, and thus we have Venom. But the story was really more about moral ambiguity, right? And in this film, mind you, I haven't seen it, but just judging by what I saw from the first film and what's happening here, they decided to go with the lowest common denominator, which is just like slapstick laughs and, like my boy Taylor said, almost Little Shop of Horror-esque humor, which is so weird because it's just not the character. And there are really cool things that you could do that speak to the character of Eddie Brock. You know how pretty much Venom is convincing him to do certain things, because here's the thing, he can actually control Venom. He can get Venom back in because they have like a neural connection, but Venom convinces him to do certain things that are unsavory in the comic to, you know, get back at Spider-Man, which include, unfortunately, the death of people. Now, him struggling with that, him thinking like he's like some like, you know, like he's a morally just person, meanwhile doing some pretty crazy stuff, it kind of shows the duality of human beings. That's not what we're getting here. We got this, you know, you're a loser. Like he's a guy who's down on his luck and Venom is actually adding to his life. It's not really a thing. Because let's just say we remove Spider-Man, right? Because even though that's the hardest thing for me, seeing as I'm a Spider-Man guy, and that is key to the character. Venom is known because of his relationship to Spider-Man. Let's just say you want to remove that and just make him, you know, just an alien that bonds himself to Eddie Brock. You still should replace the whole thing. Like maybe there's something, like give Eddie something that he really wants, or somebody who he really doesn't like and is willing to almost kill them or do terrible things. And maybe he's on the cusp of that, but Venom brings him over that line to being able to execute some of the things that he wouldn't have without him. And now he has all these extra abilities to do these things. Now, there's so many things missing because, once again, Venom has rose to prominence based off of what people knew about him when he was fighting Spider-Man. You know, how Spider-Man couldn't sense him, so he was like a big threat, so on and so forth. But now, we don't even have some of the heavier storylines. So even when I was speaking to my boy Jonathan, he brought up a very true fact, which was about Anne Weying, or the She-Venom that you saw in the first film. In the comics, she kills a whole bunch of people. She goes on a whole rampage, and she has to kind of like deal with that. She actually has this whole storyline where she hates Eddie for wearing it and being like dependent on it, because he actually develops this weird codependency on it, because it does become a huge part of him, and she like finds it disgusting. And after she kills all those people, she ends up in jail, and she can't deal with all the guilt, and eventually she commits suicide. So it's not this happy-go-lucky thing, and I understand like what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to get more audiences in, they're trying to get the kids in and making this family thing. But you don't always have to do that. You don't. You could just tell a very weighty story that has to do with a comic book character. And it seems from this, they're very scared to do it. Tom Hardy's an excellent actor. Michelle Williams is an excellent actress. And Woody Harrelson is also great. And I know they're going to do well with whatever they give them. And guess what? We'll probably still be entertained. We'll laugh and stuff like that. But, as you know, since I know these characters from a certain source material, I cannot help think in the back of my head what could have been had they just incorporated more of that source material and made a story that actually built the character underneath Venom, rather than just making this weird slapstick thing. Like, I remember that scene where he's like, oh, it's a red one. And he goes back in him, and he's like, oh, I'll let you eat whoever you want. Like, all these like eating people jokes, literally, like what boy said, Little Shop of Horrors. Like, really, that wasn't like the driving force. I am a predator. That wasn't the driving force of it. It was literally anything he could do to get back at Spider-Man. Anything. Like a jilted girlfriend, as my boy said as well. That's literally what Venom was like. And he actually wanted to bond with Peter again. But once again, by removing Spider-Man, you actually remove a lot of that stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy, like, how this is still happening. But I get it. A lot of people don't know. The first film did very well in the box office, so I see why they're doing it again. But it is what it is. The trailer showed more of this. It looks like, people can be entertained. At the very least, if I didn't know anything about Venom or anything like that, I'd probably enjoy the movie for it, just being laughing and whatever like that. But it's hard for me to do it just because I know who I am. So let me know. Did you enjoy this trailer? What did this trailer tell you about this movie? Let me know. What were your favorite parts of it? It's hard for me. Like, there was a whole headbutting of it and breaking his nose. Like, I'll break it again. It's like, what the hell? I get it's funny, but it's just not the character. So yeah, let me know what you think about it. And to the nerd.